And it was announced yesterday that Manchester United have signed the 6'6" Netherlands striker Wout Weghorst on loan for the rest of the season. The Burnley forward spent the first half of this season at Besiktas, but is now heading to Old Trafford. Supposedly, Manchester United, this is the crux of the deal, are paying a loan fee to Burnley of around about 2.6 million, and then Burnley are paying about 2.5 million to Besiktas. And Manchester United are then going to be covering the entirety of Weghorst's wages. And there is no option or obligation to buy, so we should stress that. We might remember him at Burnley. And before we get your take on Weghorst, he also had a starring performance for the Netherlands against Argentina at the World Cup. The former Manchester United and England midfielder Owen Hargreaves told the Drive Show on talkSPORT that he believes the signing of the striker on loan has its merits.
Well, I know it's probably not the sexiest signing in history, but the money's not there for Manchester United, and they needed a body through the door. Goal scoring has been one of the biggest issues. You know, they're one of the lowest scoring teams in the top 10 teams. So hopefully he can address that. You look at the impact Olivier Giroud has for France. You know, he's not that's not the most explosive guy in the world. It's not Thierry Henry, but he's there when they need it. They got enough creators. And then you think about Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno, and Marcus, and Anthony, and Martial. They don't need him to do anything but just stand in the box and put the ball in the back of the net.
So that was Owen Hargreaves, who was on Drive, and I'm pretty sure that the Drive presenter, Manchester United fan Andy Goldstein, will be in a lively one after the Manchester derby this weekend, whether they win or lose. That's Drive from 4:00 from Monday, right here on talkSPORT. What we should say is that Weghorst will not be available. They didn't get the paperwork done in time to make sure that he could be selected for this game at Old Trafford. But it's funny, isn't it? Because of his time at Burnley, Weghorst has built up this bad reputation in his brief time in the Premier League. Have people got a point about that? Are they right to be a bit... I mean, there's Owen Hargreaves saying it's not the sexiest transfer in the world.
No.
Is this simply a stopgap? And where do you stand on this transfer of Weghorst going to Manchester United?
Well, it's very rarely you get a 6'6" signing and they're sexy signings, and because they're deemed ungamely, awkward. I mean, Big Noel Quinn, I think Quinny was 6'5" when I played alongside Quinny, and he had a great touch, very good technically. Well, Weghorst is very similar in many ways. He reminds me a little bit of Dzeko. I saw him in his mid-20s when he was at Wolfsburg, and he had an incredible record at Wolfsburg, literally 1 in 2 goals per game in the Bundesliga, done brilliantly well. I think it's a very clever signing, because one thing he can do, he can lead the line and he can bring other players around him who have Man United got a number of players with pace that once they get close to him, that doesn't mean United are going to play anything direct. I think it's an option. And also, he's got great pressing stats. His pressing is exceptional. You know, the Burnley record was more to do with goals. Did he play poorly for Burnley? Not really. I think there was expectation on more. And it actually didn't suit him that Burnley played quite direct. It didn't suit him. He's a far better footballer than that. You don't play for the Dutch national team if, you're not good technically. And he is clearly that. So I think it's a very clever signing that will give Ten Hag lots more options. And he's around far better footballers at Manchester United and at Burnley. And that will add to him, I think, as a footballer.
Obviously, we know that Erik Ten Hag had made no secret of the fact that he needed to find somebody to fill the void of the departure of Cristiano Ronaldo. They needed a number 9 of some sort. It's quite a traditional number 9 that they've gone for, which you must be absolutely delighted. Because a few years ago, we were talking about the death of the traditional number 9, but it feels as though they're coming back when you've got Erling Haaland not far away in the blue half of Manchester City as well.
Yeah, I do, because I think there's too many centre-halves who are really comfortable playing football in the Premier League and not getting pressed. Did you watch Newcastle versus Sheffield Wednesday midweek, Nat? Did you watch the boy...
Leicester?
Sorry, no. The cup game. The cup game, Sheffield Wednesday versus Newcastle.
No, I missed that one.
Last it might have been Sunday.
Yeah, it was
I can't
Saturday.
remember.
It was
Saturday,
weekend,
Sunday.
yeah.
Last weekend. Watch it. The boy from Rotherham, right? I think he's Michael Smith.
Yeah.
Is it? Michael Smith, centre forward.
Okay.
6'4", something. He caused Botman more problems than Botman's had all season. Botman's been superb for Newcastle. The battle they had between them, I thought was... He'd probably say at the end of the season, you said to him, who was the hardest game you had? He'd probably say, the boy at Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
Who's a journeyman, been around, he's 31 years old.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because when when you think of someone like an Ivan Toney, and forgive me for bringing Brentford into this, but his physical presence, the bullying that he can impact upon defenders, it makes it awkward for them. It makes it difficult for them.
OK, you asked Thiago Silva, who was one of the toughest games he had last year. It'd been Ivan Toney, the 4-1 defeat at Stamford Bridge, where Ivan Toney dominated the two centre-halves, Rudiger and Thiago Silva. These centre-halves have been getting away with it for way too long, in my opinion.
This is the strikers' union.
No, because now, I'm telling you, there's so many centre-halves now. Most teams are playing one up front.
Yeah.
OK? There's not many partnerships in the game. And I really miss that. And I miss the big centre forward battling away with a centre half. I miss that because there's not enough of it. And too many teams who are playing this lovely football who do it brilliantly but are getting away with a different option.
And this is what Weghorst can bring to Manchester United, that aggressiveness, that sort of strength, bravery as well. But like you mentioned, it's also about opening up spaces for his teammates to exploit if needs be as well. And like you say, they're not... I mean, Manchester United are more about playing down the wings, crossing the ball in. So, as you say, it's not going to be a direct style of play that we'll see from Manchester United. They'll still use their wings to cross the ball in and hope Weghorst either delivers through a goal or, as we said, open up the space.
I once had a conversation, I'm sorry to go back to Republic of Ireland days and Jack Charlton. He asked the question...
That's what you're here for, Cass. Tell us the stories.
Republic of Ireland. He said to me, which midfielder would you think I would want in the world of football for playing for Republic of Ireland in our midfield? And when no one could guess it, right? Glenn Hoddle.
Okay,
right? Most gifted footballer. One thing that Glenn was, he was the most gifted midfielder I'd ever played with. Unbelievable technique. He was the best passer of a long ball, but he never looked like an aimless ball forward because he always put it on a sixpence. Now, the long ball is an option. You don't have to play football with short passes. It's an option that gives Man United something different. And you know what? When you do a long ball, you can break really quickly. If you're a really fit team, because your Brentford do it very, very well, you get the ball. If it goes forward quickly and Ivan Toney battles with it, once he's around the ball and people are joining him, now you're a really hard team to play against because you've got great energy in midfield. People will join him.
So this for you makes sense, this transfer?
Well, Man United have that. They have energy in their team now.
Yeah.
They didn't have it. They've got it now. Makes Man United a much different option. I'd be really interested to see how he does, how much he plays and how well he does for Man United, because I really believe it's one of them strange signings in many people's eyes that can be deemed genius very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, in fairness, Erik ten Hag has not got a lot wrong, really, at Manchester United. OK, bar a couple of games at the start of the season, but he was feeling his way in. You look at some of the signings United have made since. Casemiro, Graeme Souness, not the biggest fan. We'll talk about that more in the papers.
He can't let it go, Graeme.
Can't let it go. But he doesn't seem to have got much wrong. And what I will quickly ask you, we shouldn't base our opinions on Weghorst at Burnley.
No,
yeah,
you judge him looking...
style of football.
I mean, obviously I haven't seen him at Besiktas, but I've seen him at Wolfsburg before when he was in his mid-20s. He's now 30 years old. He's a hell of a striker, will give something different. Is he going to be a long-term solution for Man United? No, but he might make the difference in them getting in the Champions League, which I truly believe that will.
Well, 8 goals in 12 league games in Turkey is what he scored. Also had 4 assists, so does take part in the creativity of goals as well. So, and obviously Erik ten Hag will know a lot about him from the Netherlands perspective as well. But he is in at the door at Old Trafford, but won't be available for the Manchester derby, which is live on talkSPORT from 12:30 kickoff wise.